With the mission to keep as many men on as many guns for as long as possible, we called him Doc. Welcome to Combat Vet Vision. And now your host, Aaron Chief Siebert.
Hey, this is Aaron Siebert. Lucky to be alive after being hit with a mortar round April of 2006. Took over 100 pieces of shrapnel, had my last rites read to me, and I'm on life number 2. I say that a lot because I felt like a lot of things changed for me when I got hit. I could no longer do a lot of the things that I could do before as well. Walk, for instance, walking in itself. But hey, this is a platform where I get to talk about a lot of things that take place within our combat vet community. I talk a lot about myself. I talk a lot about the transitional pieces. I talk a lot about things that I observed. I work with combat vets in a lot of different aspects, a lot of different arenas. Mainly I talk about it through the Warrior Built Foundation, which is vocational recreational support for our combat vets. And then the PTSD Foundation of America, which is peer-to-peer mentoring and as well as counseling, a whole bunch of programs designed to really deal with the PTSD, based out of Houston, Texas, with multiple different areas across the United States, running peer-to-peer mentor groups that help these guys out in a lot of different directions. And being that I just brought that piece into effect, the VA has requested this be a buddy check, National Buddy Check Week, which they're kind of asking every veteran to reach out to 10 other veterans. This is something I do anyway throughout the week. However, I'm trying to make it a point to reach out to 10 combat vets or veterans that I haven't talked to in a long time, and have a direct conversation with them in some way. If you have questions about that, please refer to this National Buddy Check Week on the VA's website, and it will give you some pointers. There's also some aspect where you can sign up and say, hey, I dedicate that I will actually do this. Just hold you a little bit accountable, but not accountable. It's up to you to be accountable for yourself, and that's something that's really super important. But one of the cool things that I want to talk about this week is, what is your adventure and what is your motivation? And when I mean that is, a lot of times, the adventure for us as combat vets, we just took the ultimate the ultimate adventure is life and death at any given moment in a combat zone, and realizing that this reality in this combat zone is way different than the reality of life back home, in day-to-day activities. And I want to just kind of be able to kind of put that into perspective for you. Is, you're watching me on the screen. Your reality is that you maybe are watching me on the screen, and whatever's going on in your life at home has nothing to do with what's going on in this screen. And what I have in front of me may not have anything to do with what you got going on at home. It's very different. It's very easy to look at life through a looking glass and see, wow, there's an adventure out there, but it may or may not be real. And even that is it being influenced by motivation? Is it being or alternative motives, or whatever it might look like, right? What is my motive here? What am I doing on the screen, and why am I trying to talk to you? Why am I giving this information out? Well, because I think, for one, it's important for me to be able to have a place to drop this off, or a place to kind of talk about things, to iron out thoughts and processes. That's what I do in this show. That's what I do when I am in my groups with the combat vets, and we sit around and we talk about all these things, all these incredible things that have happened to us, things that we're trying to navigate in society, and how we're trying to do all that. And then, what is your adventure in isolation? Whatever it is, you're on an adventure. You're either on an adventure in your house every day, and sometimes that adventure may or may not feel like an adventure, but it's how you're managing your day-to-day activities, and what it is that's motivating you. And let's take that word motivation. Motivation is the action that's kind of needed to push you in a direction that you want to go, or something like that, right? However, when I think about motivation in so many aspects that I've heard it in my military career, it seemed like it was the first word of the day that you had to listen to when you started your workout, when you started your PT regimen, and let's get motivated, let's make it happen. And so that was like an all-encompassing word that sparked hopefully endorphins in the brain to kick off the motivation to, or the ability to psych yourself up for what's about to come. And that was always like, hey, it's an intense moment. It's the beginning of the day. It's like, oh my gosh, there's so much to do in between now and the end of the day. But you better find the motivation. You better find the reach down deep, grab what you need to grab, and pull it to the surface and say, let's take this day on and make it happen. So motivation became an all-encompassing word for whatever I'm talking about, whether I'm giving a compliment to somebody, whether I am telling them let's do this, or whatever it is. It's an all-encompassing word that it really kind of makes me feel like I'm saying everything that I would want to say in one particular time. um, there's there's a lot to it. So when you think about that, there's a lot of different things. And I want to say in America, we come back, and sometimes it's really hard for us after coming back from combat to find that adventure to go out and do that. And so to go outside, for instance, or to even, you know, go to the grocery store or go to whatever, it's sometimes very difficult to find that motivation. And it's because we just did this crazy fight. There's no place for it in society. Some guys have been really trying to deal with it in a real negative way, and maybe their motivation is to grab that bottle and start making that your best friend, uh, and that takes you down a whole different road of motivation in a whole different direction. Or it's the motivation to, you know, get with the people that really drive you to do something that you maybe wouldn't do, or to get you out doing something, things that you might want to do but you don't really want to do, but you find when you get there that it could be a way better opportunity than you thought, or it ends up being a real sucky opportunity, and so you become less motivated, uh, less adventurous in that direction. And so now you're going to take on the adventure of the couch, or non, you're just going to isolate, and that's your motivation. So, so when you think about these things, there's a lot of adventures, both good, both not so good. Um, it's a choice to make your adventure the way it is. And it's a choice to find that motivation to uh, get yourself involved in life, or to even take your life, because suicide is such a prevalent deal. That's a motivation too. It's a hard one, and that's not a place that we really want to go. We want to talk about some really important stuff that will pull you out of that motivation and more into the living motivation, the motivation of life and death. In combat, motivation of life and death. And you don't have a choice with combat. What happens to you in combat happens to you. And sometimes it gets real close, um, because we got to go out and do the mission. Mission counts, right? And I was thinking about uh, the motivation that we have in America that sometimes pulls the spirit of its all encompassing capabilities to move forward in a positive way or a negative way, is that society is changing in such a way where people that want their freedoms to be exploited are allowed to exploit them in such a motivational way, their own motivation. To impose that motivation on someone else is to impose their freedom on your freedom. So in essence, your freedom is being stepped on by someone else's freedom to be allowed to do that. And freedom is a crazy thing. Freedom allows you to steer a ship in a different direction than everybody else might be steering. Everybody else might be steering, hey, society has gone this way for so long. And now it's changing. It's changing because the freedoms need to be spread loaded in a different way. They also need to be able to express or whatever it is that you feel like you need to do. But my biggest problem with it all is if your freedom's imposing on my freedom, it's you're doing it on purpose, then that's not really being free. And I mean that in the sense, like, if you don't want to use your turn signal and you're gonna get me stuck in traffic because you decided to pull up to the area a little slow and you didn't really use your turn signal, but now you're gonna go. And if you would have used your turn signal to signal me, I could have gone out in front and did my turn, but I didn't because you didn't use your turn signal. Now I'm stuck in traffic for another 10 minutes. So in essence, your freedom to not use that turn signal took 10 seconds of my freedom, or 10, or depending on traffic, somewhere a minute to 5 minutes of my life is now stuck because you decided to impose your freedom on into my freedom. And I want to say that, that goes hand in hand, with a lot of things that um, that also clash with thought processes of a lot of people's rights to bear arms, to do a lot of different things. And people are like, "Hey, why is that so important?" And I'll give you the most recent, most most uh, you know messed up example is basically, living. I don't know what it's like to live in Israel, but I do know that there are enemies outside of America that would like to come into America and just totally take it over. But we have this almost open door policy to our borders. So now there's a big housing crisis, and I don't know the true reason behind this housing crisis, but when you let in millions of people every year and the government houses them and puts them up and gives them all these things, that can be definitely imposing on the freedoms that we as Americans are allowed to have. And now those freedoms are so free that they're able to uh, bring their politics, bring their hate, bring their other things. And you're free to hate in America. You're free to make all these choices, but that's imposing on the freedoms that I have to love the country, uh, love my fellow man, love freedom. And I don't have any desire to hate. I don't have any desire to kill indiscriminately civilians. But that's exactly what happened because somebody had hate in their desire to deal with things. So if you're a hateful organization, you're imposing your hate on free will, and you have the advantage because you're going to come in there with hate. And we take courses like nonviolent negotiation course, and that's supposed to work. And did it work with no one being armed and no one being ready for a fight from somebody who's going to break the gate down and come at you? Did it work in any movie that you've watched, like Red Dawn, for instance, when the Russians land and the teacher goes out there and is like, "Hey, I think you're in the wrong zone. There's all these guns," and then all of a sudden he gets tore up, right? That's a true example. If someone's intent is to kill, to take that down, and you don't have the ability to, or the motivation, or the adventure to be aware of that, that's a hard thing. So it's just one of those things that I wanted to talk about because I understood in combat why and how life and death works right off the bat. I think it took away, a lot of different. I mean, I already had pretty good awareness in my military career. I was geared towards, all these different things and um, these thought processes of, hey, the enemy really is out there trying to get us, but only from history and all these different things. But now I go through life sometimes and I'm not armed anymore. So I feel a little naked because in combat I was armed and I was ready to get it on with the enemy. And what's really funny and strange when you think about it, when we went into Iraq and Afghanistan, all over the world, it seemed like everybody was super happy. And right now, it's the same thing. Everybody's really happy to try to get in there and fight against Israel. Well, I'm just going to tell you right now, that's the dumbest concept that you could possibly have. Tactically, you're going against me and the training that I've had and the training that all of our soldiers and military members have had, and we're armed and we're looking for you. So good luck with that. That's equalization all across the board. But the weakest parts, the weakest times, that's where we could get surprised. And that's where I look at it sometimes. Nonviolent negotiation course will work only against people that want to be nonviolent. It doesn't work against that which is intended to bring the violence or the pain. So those of you that are ready, those of you that are, with tears in your eyes, wanting to be your best friend and have the ability to be the worst enemy to those that want to be the enemy, that's an important piece to be. That's where the balance is between life and death. And sometimes, are you scared? Maybe you shouldn't be, but I just, when I listen to our government talk, sometimes it makes me like sick. And I mean, I don't pay attention to the news too much because I get frustrated with it, but I need to listen to it every once in a while just to see if things are getting better. See if things are, my adventure to listen to the news sometimes is, and my motivation is really trying to hope that I can smile a little more, hope that I don't have to worry about, hey, I'm not guarding the wall anymore. But what wall are we guarding anymore? Where is there a wall? There's not. And when you hear about New York, that rape in 1 year is up 1,000%, homicides 33%, something's not tuned in right. And we have to depend on the adventure to make it to the store. And first responders can't even get to the scene of saving your life for 20 minutes, possibly, because they got to wait on police. But are the police even, do they have the numbers to deal with the situation? I mean, what is the situation in New York that it turned into that? The craziest gun laws in New York, and the law-abiding citizens have to abide by the law. Now that only works for those that are law-abiding citizens. What an adventure for the non-law-abiding citizens. They're going to talk to somebody who took the nonviolent negotiation course. And at the end of the day, their intent is to end you, to cause problems. I don't know, maybe not. I'm speculating, right? Jumping to conclusions, but 33%, 1,000% in the rapes. I mean, yeah, it's an adventure out there. It's a super big adventure. And you want to know why veterans need to isolate or want to isolate? Because they don't want to deal with all the bullshit. They guarded the wall. They went and fought for the country. And the country is what? Not failing? I don't know. It's just, it's not like a soapbox that I want to stand on. It's not some stance that I want to take, but sometimes there's just too much bullshit out there. And it becomes, there's black and white. And if you want to see all the other colors, you can, but there's something, there's common sense and there's non-common sense, and there's truth and non-truth. And even then, the truth can be skewed. It can be twisted. No matter what I say here, these words can be used for the intent that they're not intended for sure. I mean, Russia can fly right by our ships at maybe 2 or 3 plane lengths above a ship and not be shot down, because if we pull the trigger on that, yeah, we're at fault. But if Russia's intent was to do something to our American ships, then what? And even if they did and we fired upon their plane, there's a way and there's a will. They will make it look like we are the bad guys. And we are the bad guys all over the planet. If you talk to anybody, it's America that did this, it's America that did that. And maybe we had some involvement in it. Maybe we had some involvement to steer whatever direction that we needed to steer at the time. And a lot of those times have been, reached around and bit us in the ass. So I fully understand it. I'm open to the suggestions of it. This is the adventure of life. What motivates you to get out of the house? What motivates me is, my wife has a lot of plans and gets me all interested in a lot of things too. But the adventure of Americans is it's an adventure. And I'm going to take a quick break for a PSA for the VA. And don't forget to do your buddy checks, but I'll be right back.
This message is from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. Do you want easy access to VA Online, as well as other government websites? Then login.gov is the way to go. Login.gov is a U.S. government service that provides seamless access to government websites. By creating a login.gov account, you can use the same email and password to sign into va.gov, My Healthy Vet, VA DoD e-benefits, and the VA Health and Benefits mobile app, among other VA services. Login.gov also allows you to securely sign in to USA Jobs and TSA PreCheck, and to apply for SBA small business loans and disaster assistance. One login, many resources. To create a login.gov account, simply go to va.gov and click Sign In.
Hey, welcome back to Combat Vet Vision. Hey, this is where I get to really talk about a lot of things and, bring a lot of things to the forefront is how I see them or how our combat vets might see them. And, and sometimes the adventure of just being on the couch is a good thing. And I talked about these adventures where, a lot of different adventures pull you out, get you involved in life, put you in government. And that's not some place where, a lot of us as combat vets want to be. We want to just enjoy our lives and find some quiet time, because even in the quiet time, the chaos still finds us in our heads. And we need to be able to kind of go to groups and be involved in the VA. And hopefully the VA is going to take care of us in a way that's going to be satisfactory or beyond, hopefully. Big cities are not, a lot of guys and gals staying away from big cities. Some people like the couch. I'm just looking through some of the comments that I just want to talk about. And, and I can't, and I do, I stress about some things that haven't happened yet. I spent a little bit of time thinking about things that has happened, and my mind stays on point because I have to stay vigilant, because I hear these crazy things all the time. And that's why I got to shut the news off to keep my hypervigilance down and under control a little bit. Some people feel like America's on a downhill slope. And the veterans, this is another weird thing that I thought about. There's such a big effort to defund the police, to make the police look like they're the bad guys. When people get upset, they get upset. But I will say I've seen more and more police just really remain in a calm position, but almost to the point where their hands are tied and they can't even do their job anymore. So they've been painted as this bad thing, and they want this defund the police thing so bad that it becomes very difficult. The last ditch effort for those people that you want to believe in are first responders and our military. Those are the last two, or the medical system too. But you think about those things being attacked next, then what is it? That's just it's the interior part of America. They said that the adventure of America is almost like the American dream. They want to tell you that it's over, and for some it is. Some people still want to chase the American dream, and a lot of people feel like America's more like a giant industry now than a country, because open borders, there's money in it somehow, some way. There's you go to the hospital, there's just a huge waiting line for everything. Insurance is going up, or it's not even feasible in California for most houses. They've lost their insurance. So the government's going to have to provide that insurance. What does that mean? What's all this mean? So, hey, I just want to say thanks for the comments. Thanks for everything. I hope I covered this kind of subject a little bit better than it's a passion for me to kind of be sarcastic and talk about some things, but like some things have not happened yet. And I hope they don't. I hope those things that I think about don't, but someone's got to think about them. Someone's got to think about these different things. But hey, that's all I got for this week. I appreciate everybody's efforts and everybody's thoughts. I definitely am open to have a great discussion with anybody. And if you want to get on my show, hit me up. But until next time, this is Aaron Siebert, retired Navy Chief, signing off. Strength and honor. Out.
The only way, and we need nothing more.